Well, I did a lot of hard work for the female video, so now I'm gonna take a wonderful vacation and visit this mysterious place. Wait a minute. What is this? Elizabeth Tower? Lviv Clock Tower? The Eiffel Tower? The Colosseum? The Statue of Liberty? The Great Pyramids of Giza? The Discobolus statue? The Leaning Tower of Pisa? The Lviv Theater? The Cornillac Tower? Oh no, I'm in Las Vegas!
Right you are. Welcome to Las Vegas, a place where we store all the world monuments into one city for everyone to see.
Who are you?
I am a Hugo. We Hugos have appeared in the very popular and acclaimed game Huje Tower. What is it? What is it with that wide-eyed expression?
Oh no!
Is there something wrong, sir?
Now, to be honest, I've never played the Huje franchise at all. In fact, I've never even heard about it until I did research for Contre Jour because they were made by the same developer. As I do for my videos, I like to research about the developers and how they managed to be able to get their famous success. And I was surprised that this was their first game they made. So that means let's take a look and review the Huje series for my own opinion. So let's take a look at the first game in the franchise, Huje Tower. And by the way, yes, I know some people pronounce it Huge Tower, but basically it's spelled with a J instead of a G. So because of this, I'm calling it Huje Tower. And it's also because the HU can sometimes make a hua sound effect. The story starts off with a pretty great animated cutscene. Deep underground in a sewerage, there live Hugos. Yes, I know the cutscene called them bacteria, but in universe they're called Hugos. One day, they just saw the sky as a mysterious porthole opens. Following this discovery, they decide that's where they want to be, and your goal is to try to build them upwards. Literally. Now, how did we get to this? Why does this look like a ripoff of World of Goo? You're probably wondering why Maksym Hryniv, the developer, made this. A blatant ripoff of World of Goo. Well, it actually wasn't originally going to be this way. Yep, Huje Tower was not the original first game idea that was intended by the developer. In fact, in an interview, he stated that he was originally going to make a first-person shooter game with realistic blood and realistic gore.
Ew, this was originally going to be the game that Maksym was going to make instead of me. But then, how did I get made?
That's where things get a little more interesting. While he was making the first-person shooter game, he accidentally discovered that he made a physics engine that behaves similar to World of Goo. Unfortunately, instead of going with the original idea of making a first-person shooter game, he gave into temptation and made a clone, which is now known as Huje Tower. So now that I've stated the history of Huje Tower, let's take a look and see how the game operates. First up, there are the red Hugos, which if you place down, you can't adjust them, which behave similar to the common goo balls from World of Goo. Not only that, but some of the Hugos are sleeping. You have to awaken them with connected Hugos. Next up, there are brown Hugos, which can only connect onto one side of a connected tower and can be used as a counterbalance with heavy objects. Kind of similar to the water goo ball in World of Goo. Wheels, which, let me stress that again. Wheels! And are actually not used in World of Goo. Anyway, they make Hugos go up ramps or steep hills, and they sometimes even get to places that normal towers can't. Next up, there are green Hugos that can be readjusted, which are similar to the Ivy balls in World of Goo. Next up are yellow Hugos that can stick to yellow walls, providing a strong point to build off of, similar to the Pokeball in World of Goo. And then there are black Hugos, which can be able to build much stronger surfaces, can be able to connect on more than one side, but they cannot be readjustable, similar to the albino Goo. Then there are white Hugos that act as balloons, useful for being able to build above large gaps and are making Hugos fly, similar to the balloon Goos. And they also say this line from South Park.
You wanna get high?
And last but not least are the blue Hugos, which you only see in exactly 2 levels, level 22 and 34 respectively. They can extend longer than any other Hugos, but they cannot be readjustable. In fact, they don't actually have a basis from World of Goo, so at least they're the only original Hugo. Whatever. Actually, the rarity of the blue Hugo may possibly be a reference to the fact that the Pokeball in World of Goo is only used in only 2 levels, so that's some sort of reference. So as one trained eye can tell, yeah, definitely this is a World of Goo ripoff. In fact, they even copied some of the same levels. For example, one of the hardest levels in World of Goo, Infesty the Worm, was reused as level 10 of Huje Tower but made simplified and more easy. In fact, even the developer admitted that his creation was a ripoff of World of Goo. In fact, 2D Boy, the developers behind World of Goo, sent him a message afterwards telling him to put up a banner saying inspired by World of Goo. And that's really all he did. It could have been a lot more disastrous. 2D Boy could have sent other developers or even their entire fan base to pillory him, but that didn't end up happening. Yeah, that's all they did. They were very kind somewhat. As much of it being a ripoff of World of Goo, that doesn't mean I actually hate it. I played it a lot. I'm still playing it to this very day, even though I call it a ripoff. The developer of Contre Jour made this. I may yet still play it. Yes, World of Goo is better, but it is interesting knowing that this is what he made. However, that was not what I originally had in mind. Originally, I hated the music and sound effects because they were very low quality. Like, really, really low. However, thankfully, I was able to find that there was a mobile port release of the game, and while looking at the only video there was in existence on YouTube, I was shocked to find out that it had high quality. I tried desperately to find this mobile port, but of course I knew I would have no chance. However, somehow, there was a listing where IPAs were stored, and the IPA files for Huje Tower were found, and that meant I could listen to the music in higher quality. Giddy with excitement, I quickly replaced the old assets for the music and sound effects and replaced them with the new ones. So yeah, I appreciate the music, just I don't appreciate it being low quality. But now that I have the higher quality versions of the sounds and music, I ask you, please tell me you're not going to continue listening to the music in low quality after hearing this comparison. It genuinely sounds better to listen to it in higher quality. Okay, I do understand that yes, some people might say this was because of technical limitations. For old PC games, this low quality actually makes sense because of the technological limitations for older computers back then. But I don't think you have an excuse in modern time. Ever since Flash Player was first released, it was designed to handle high-quality audios, and I understand that this was to save space on old computers, but to that, I just call complete Red Bull. But yes, I will still listen to some of the Red Ball games in low quality because I'm nostalgic for them, but that's only very few in particular. Speaking of which, I feel like I should talk about its mobile port right now.
Wait, we had a mobile port? How did that happen?
It's pretty complicated. Now, because of the fact that Huje Tower was questionably popular, it was released to iOS as well. The iOS port was released in December of 2009 by Addicting Games. This version of the game used to be a mystery, as the only known video of it ever to have existed was from Crazy Mike apps. However, someone had archived almost all the Addicting Games iOS apps, which included Huje Tower, so that means I can be able to play it for you. So this version of the game is interesting to say the least, but I kinda see it as a rushed port of the iOS version of the game. There were several times where I can clearly see objects abruptly stopping. Aren't they supposed to prevent the player from seeing that? There seem to be a lot of bizarre differences compared to the original Flash version, such as the fact that brown Hugos can actually have eyes, something that this was not the case with the original Flash game. The levels are completely out of order. For example, level 4 is the second level in the mobile port of the game, which is pretty strange. And what is perhaps the biggest shocker, one of the levels is actually missing in the mobile port. Level 34, aka the second Blue Hugo level. It was likely removed because it was the hardest level and it would have been nigh impossible to do on mobile. However, the level is still present in the mobile port's game file, so it was probably going to be added at some point. There is also an XML file for the level, so maybe it was playtested but none of the playtesters for the mobile port could make it past the level. It would make sense considering it's the hardest level. But if there was a way to modify the mobile port of the game and include in level 34, I would love to see it happen, and I wonder if it's actually still possible to beat. And if anyone wonders, yes, I did beat the mobile port of the game, but I actually only beated levels 1 through 10 on video. That's because I deleted the game back when I completed the game, and so I was so excited I didn't feel like I want to play it again. However, I only decided to complete levels 1 through 10. But if you have this mobile port, I have to warn you, level 33, the Black Hugo level, or the last level of the mobile port, is really, really hard. Like, nigh impossible.
So because Maksym made a physics engine that behaves similar to World of Goo, he gave into temptation and made a clone, and that's how we were born, right?
Yep, that's exactly what happened.
You do realize that there are 3 other games in the Huje series. Are you gonna review them?
Yep. Let's start with the next game. Now, Huje Adventure's music would have considerably been the best music in the Huje series, but that's only if it wasn't high quality. Unfortunately, this game was never released to iOS, meaning we didn't have any high quality audio from the game. So you would think I would play the game on mute. Well, for a while, I just replaced the Huje Adventure music with the music from the first game. However, I got a little creative, and that's right. I recreated the Huje Adventure music in Logic Pro as accurately as possible. It's not perfect though, and there are some problems in some of the pieces, but for the most part, I handled it pretty well. So that means I can be able to listen to the Huje Adventure music without me complaining about it being in low quality. Huje Adventure is actually the only game in the series that continues the story from the events of the first game. After the first game, they eventually reach an asteroid. However, one of the Hugos named Close discovers the caves and goes in, ignoring the warnings of his friends. Unfortunately, he gets sucked into the cave, unfortunately turning into something that doesn't even resemble him, and he doesn't even remember that he was a Hugo in the first place. Now a slimy ball of goo, you can control Klaus directly using the arrow keys or the WASD keys to move, right or left, and to jump. It's actually a physics puzzler, which is especially significant, especially after you came out from a game that essentially ripped off World of Goo. So, you can probably tell that there was a lot in this game. There was clearly a lot of effort in this game. Now, there's only one question left to ask. Because of the fact that it looks nothing like Huje Tower, will this actually be another solid game, and is it not another ripoff of World of Goo? Well... Despite there being potential with Huje Adventure, the endless copying of World of Goo still continues on. Maksym, I know you're a big fan of World of Goo, but could you please stop copying and pasting the elements from World of Goo? You nearly got into trouble after 2D Boy requested you put up a banner saying inspired by World of Goo. You were very lucky, and the fact that you're disobeying their possible orders to stop making games in the Huje series, yet you're disobeying those rules, you're a very naughty developer. Speaking of naughty, the difficulty of this game is really, really hard. and that's mainly because of trying to get all 20 achievements. About 10 of them are found as hidden bonus coins hidden throughout 10 of the 25 levels, while the remaining 10 are objectives that are tied to something. By unlocking all 20, you obtain ski goggles for clothes to wear, because the developer likes to ski. And if you're wondering, yes, I actually bothered to get all 20 achievements and wear the ski goggles. But trust me, the difficulty is not worth it. Oh my goodness, why? It's not worth it. Well, that's because of one of the achievements that are not tied to the bonus coins. None of them are okay to collect, but the 10th one is so hard to collect, and that is, beat all levels on the first try. Now, what do they mean by that? It means you have to beat all 20 of the normal levels without ever failing a level. Worst of all, you have to do this on a fresh new save file, which is really stupid to achieve. And what makes it even harder? Level 11. This level doesn't feel fair at all in its difficulty. It is the hardest level in Huje Adventure, no doubt. You will end up failing a bunch of times to try to beat the levels first try without dying, and it's even worse because there are 2 flowers that you have to avoid. The problem is, sometimes they'll hit you when you're not noticing, which is really annoying. And when they do hit you, it reduces your jump height, making it almost impossible to beat the level, or in some cases impossible. So, in case if you get hit by flower, oops, you gotta delete your save file and try to get another slog at it from level 1 all the way from the very beginning. I hate flower so much. Well, actually he isn't a botherment in any of the later levels, but specifically in level 11, I really hate him. May I ask, who designed this level, and who thought it would be a good idea to make it this hard? And that's even before level 20. Oh my goodness. And of course I'm not going to change the difficulty because I like the original difficulty as it is. So that's Huje Adventure. It's a decent spin-off. I mean, it is my second favorite game in this series, and I did say I didn't hate the Huje series, but its very annoying difficulty for 100% may bother you. So maybe it would just probably only matter about beating the game, not even having to worry about collecting all the medals. Unless you're really crazy. Yes, it's definitely not perfect, and the endless copying of World of Goo is still present in the game. But it's not a game that will make you say it's a ripoff of World of Goo, but it'll make you think, yeah, the developer is trying hard to make an original idea. And also, why is level 11 so hard? So yeah, that's Huje Adventure. And now that I got the angry nerd part out of the way, we can continue on with the Norman calm self of mine.
That was a weird anticlimactic ending to the classic Huje series. I have a feeling the next 2 games are gonna suck, right?
You are correct. Now, Huje Tower 2 actually isn't that bad. It's just not one of my favorites. In fact, these games somehow keep getting worse and worse in chronological order. They're not all bad. I said I didn't hate them, but some are just better than others. Most notably, the ones that they actually plagiarized the World of Goo thing. However, something that probably changed for the worst is the music. Yes, it's in high quality, but they use a different composer, and the composer's style of music is just kind of weird. Like, instead of hearing this, you hear this. It's so weird. This is legitimately the weirdest music I've ever heard in my entire life. And if you thought the music was weird, the gameplay is interesting to say the least. Instead of building up to the sky, there's this guy named Emos, a monster who can eat Hugos. This time Hugos want to be eaten. So you have to guide them by clicking the spacebar to make a move, while the Hugos will follow wherever your mouse goes. But did this game take some elements from World of Goo this time, because of how different the gameplay is? Sadly, yes. Not only do you have to guide Hugos to Amos, you have to build as well. Really, Maksym? You're probably gonna get caught by 2D Boy again if you continue like this. I really didn't bother recording much levels of the game, but I did beat all 40 levels of the game. Oh, and there's also one thing that this game adds, a level editor. This level editor is pretty interesting and pretty typical when it comes to Flash game level editors. You can move objects in the game, and you can even adjust the number of Hugos in the game. And, fun fact, almost all the Hugos return. Well, except for the wheels and blue Hugos, though. What's even crazier is that you can actually edit pre-made levels and make your own difficulty. Now this is actually something interesting. And now I think it's about time that I briefly mention the last game in the series. Huje exists. It's the last game in the series, but there is one important question to answer. Did this game copy any elements from World of Goo? Well, aside from the sleeping creatures, no. The majority of the game isn't focused on World of Goo elements. Instead, it's all about the new gameplay mechanic introduced in Huje Tower 2. However, it shakes things up a bit. It's mainly about platforming that's the main focus of this game. You can drag and drop platforms to be able to make Hugos go through across large gaps. Rotating platforms can be made by A or the D buttons or the left and right arrow keys. Personally, I prefer to use the A and D keys because I'm left-handed, but mileage may vary. And lastly, there are bombs, which can explode away objects, pushing them further away, to prevent hindering objects. Now, since there barely is any World of Goo references, this game is not my favorite. In fact, it's my least favorite of the entire Huje series. It's not bad, but it's my least favorite. And I actually didn't beat all the levels in this game. I'm currently still stuck around level 30 or something. Actually, that's false, as just today, at the time of recording this video, which is January 17th, 2026, I just now completed all 40 levels of Huje. If at some point I can do a walkthrough, I would like to do that, since there's actually no walkthroughs of the entire game as a whole of Huje. Now, what's even weirder is that none of the different types of Hugos are in this game, it's just only the red ones. So yeah, Maksym Hryniv did actually try to make an original idea, but even still, I kinda liked his Huje Tower series. And that's pretty much it. But at least Maksym Hryniev's Contre Jour would eventually grow to become a big success, and it's very interesting that it's made by the developer. So despite the fact that the Huje series is a ripoff of World of Goo, I don't hate it because of that. In fact, it's actually an interesting video game series. Not one of the best, but average.
Wow, we've really come a long way, haven't we? I mean, all I want to do is just live a normal life and not star in a ripoff of World of Goo, which I now understand. Oh, I gotta go. I gotta go greet some tourists. It was nice visiting you.
It was nice visiting you too. Goodbye!
Goodbye. Come back soon to visit again.
Well, that was an interesting trip, but I feel like now would be a good time to end the video. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.